Hi, welcome back. I thought it might be fun, if not for you, at least for me, to revisit the prologue. And I'm only going to concentrate on one paragraph. And whether I would do all these words and takes and lines and readings over and over again, or just kind of expressing what's inside my head as I try to do it, and why I think it becomes, quite difficult. It would be nice to have a director, that somebody else in charge almost, that would just say, hey, move along, or I love that, or I hate that, or whatever. But I thought I might share some of that process. The star was massive, 20 times the size of our sun, and burned fuel 1,000 times faster. Even just that first sentence, how many million ways can you say it, and how many opportunities there are to screw up. If you have sibilants, super ninja is already difficult. The star was massive. Massive, not massive. The star... all those things, and you hear all those flaws, especially because I had the headphones on, which is good and bad. I think there are some top people. I remember watching an interview with Scott Brick, who said he prefers not to have the headphones on. Sometimes he's in a studio, not his home studio, but a studio maybe by Penguin or Random House or one of those, and they want him to have the headphones on so they can communicate, and they just insist on it. That's their way. But anyway, let's just tackle one paragraph, and I'm going to stop and start and go back and forth and just kind of share at least what's going on in my head and the compromises that I make, and also the things that I consider mistakes or flaws or alternate possibilities in the way I read. Super Ninja, Part 1. Before. The star was massive, 20 times the size of our sun, and burned fuel 1,000 times faster. Destined for a short life, 1 billion years of nuclear synthesis increased its weight until the force of its gravity caused it to collapse on itself. The resulting supernova shockwave rippled through the galaxy, sending particles as fine as dust and pieces larger than any of the known planets, hurtling across the vast cosmic voids of space. So even there, I could hear space, and I can probably do that with software, but it would be better if it was not space, but space. The star was massive. Even that first 4 words. The star was massive. 20 times the size of our sun, and burned fuel 1,000 times faster. Or 20 times the size of our sun, and burned fuel 1,000 times faster. For some reason, 1,000, it sounds like there's a fritzing, and I hear that as on fine on some of the F's and the and synthesis, nuclear synthesis without sibilants. So Sally sells seashores by the seashore. Synthesis increased its weight until the force of its gravity. So even there, increased its weight until the force of its gravity caused it to collapse on itself? Or is it increased its weight until the force of its gravity caused it to collapse on itself? The reason, sometimes on those collapse, I'll hear a click or a crack, which again I can sometimes take out, but you just wish it wasn't there to begin with. Destined for a short life. I could read that totally straight, destined for a short life. Or, I tend to want to put in a little bit of a laugh because when we think of 1,000,000,000 years, that's a short life. I mean, for a star, but it's still, the contrast, and was written very deliberately. So, the resulting supernova shockwave. Do we throw that away because this is information that, it's not a supernova shockwave? Because in this world, that's just what it is. Like, hey, that's a big tree. Well, that's a supernova shockwave. Or do I give it a lot? Sending particles as fine as dust, or pieces larger than any of the known planets. Even there, planets. And I find, at least in the headphones and in my ears, a word like planets. I want the T, planet. And I'll find, I can remember doing, their physical gifts. And man, saying the word gift, gifts, and adding that S after the gift, and how hard and difficult that was. It was just like, I think sometimes it's like when you're writing and you spell a very common word, something that you've seen 10 trillion times in your life, and suddenly you're like, wow, is that really how you spell it? That doesn't look right. And it's the same way when you speak. So anyway, one more try. And, these are the things that I go through. So I'm just trying to share part of that process. And I don't know if everybody else goes through that or if I'm genuinely mentally challenged or have some strange voice psychosis or something. I don't know. Before, the star was massive, 20 times the size of our sun, and burned fuel 1,000 times faster. Destined for a short life. 1,000,000,000 years of nuclear synthesis increased its weight until the force of its gravity caused it to collapse on itself. The resulting supernova shockwave rippled through the galaxy, sending particles as fine as dust and pieces larger than any of the known planets, hurtling across the vast cosmic voids of space. So this is all obviously just one paragraph. And, and believe me, I've analyzed and thought about it and done even more. But I just kind of wanted to share part of that thought process and thought it might be, interesting for you. And, if you were going through all these self-direction, self-doubts, critical analysis of what you're doing, I just kind of wanted you to know that somebody else is going through it too, at least one person. So anyway, thanks for popping in and listening. And I'm back on to chapter 15, I think. Thanks. Bye.